Question of the day, what makes a good placement game to you? That's right, if you just saw recently, we did a Tiny Towns versus Reef mashup video, and you'll have to go see which one got the win on that. But what do you think makes a good placement game to you? Is it something where you get to plan way a long time ahead, or do you roll with the punches as they come, a la number 9, and trying to make your points the best they can be? What's your favorite type of placement game? And when I say placement, I mean it could be tile, it could be building, it could be stacking. What's your favorite way to do that? Is it the more sporadic, kind of impulsive way of playing, or is it more the I'm playing my plan way out ahead of time and I have to get to that point as best as I can? Which brings us today to the Pyramids Deadline. Tiny little game right here called the Pyramids Deadline. It is designed by Jun Sasaki from Oink Games. It's a game where there's drafting of dice to get the pieces you need to build your pyramid to get the most points. At the end of the game, who has the most points wins based on how well you did building your pyramid to make it point worthy. So, which it's got some nice scoring mechanics and things like that. So let's take a look right now how the Pyramids Deadline plays, and we will go from there. So here's how the Pyramids Deadline plays. You'll roll the 7 dice in a 2 to 3 player game. These are the dice you have available to choose from to build your pyramid with. So different shapes show which tiles you can choose out of here. Everyone starts, by the way, with an orange tile out on their placement already, and then one of these yellow triangles in reserve. Now there are a couple placement rules. When you take a new tile, the stripes on it, they're not just there for looks. They have to either be vertical or horizontal. They cannot be they can't be diagonal. So you could not actually put this triangle like this. You would have to do it like this, or as I did a minute ago, like that. Interesting placement rule because it just shows you, it slows you down a little bit from just willy-nilly throwing things out there, right? You also have the 6 red tokens over here. If you choose to take one of the square tokens, that is the Pharaoh's life meter, and as his life meter goes down, you have fewer and fewer turns left to play the game. When he does in fact die, game's over. You score your pyramids. Whoever has the most points obviously wins the game. Now, as far as taking dice, what you do on your turn is this. So these would all actually be the life stones. That actually would be a lot of quick turns. Let's re-roll this for just a minute to get some different shapes out there. They are interesting. The dice are pretty, but it's weird having these lines through them. But it just kind of designates what the actual symbols are. So for instance, this triangle is different than this triangle because this has 2 sections on it, whereas this triangle only has the 1, right? So if I was to draft this die, I would take one of these triangles, and I could either put it into my reserve, or I could put it out there. And then use the one that's in my reserve to build. So if I put this one in my, this is the same piece, so it doesn't matter. I'm gonna go ahead and put it here. Now a couple of other placement rules. The corner has to touch a corner, and the flat side has to touch a side. So you always have to touch a side and a corner at one time. Obviously what that just stops you from doing is things like this, or if you have a square piece, doing something like this. That would not be allowed either because it has to touch a side and a corner. You're gonna continue building up your pyramid in various ways until you finish, at which point there are 2 ways you can bow out. So in the end, to declare you're done, all your capstones have to be, they all have to be diagonally. You couldn't have a capstone like this and say, okay, I'm done, because you can still build on top of this. But if this was your pyramid, it's not necessarily, but if this is your pyramid at the end of the game, so the way you score is your base times your height minus the number of points that you have. So this would be 3, because it's the amount of spaces, 1, 2, 3. Times 1, 2, 3, even though there's nothing here, 3 times 3, minus the pyramid point. So this would be 3 times 3 is 9, minus 1 is 8 for this pyramid right here. Obviously there's ways that you would score higher than this, you'd have more turns than this, but this is what you're looking for at the end of the game, is a pyramid that looks like this, where all the rules are met, none of my lines are going diagonally, and my points are correct, none of the vertical walls are too high, there's not a flat surface that I can build onto. This would be a pyramid worth 8 points. Score points at the end of the game, see who has the most, and the winner obviously is that person. That is how you play Pyramids Deadline. So that's it. Basically what you're doing with this is you're going to draft these dice to get the pieces you need. If the pieces aren't available, you'll have to take one of the king's life points, at which point you're ticking down the timer. So not only that, it's kind of macabre because you were personally killing the king, but the pharaoh. Thing is with this that I do like, I like dice drafting. Anytime there's dice drafting, that's fun. It adds some variety, it adds some randomness to the game, but it also adds a little bit of trickiness in the sense that you can't get everything you need immediately, right? Which is always hard to deal with sometimes. But I like the idea of building. I love the way this scores. Honestly, I love the way it's your width times your height minus your cap pieces. You want to have the smoothest looking pyramid as well, which I think is pretty thematic, right? You don't want a pyramid that looks like a castle. It wouldn't be a pyramid then, hence the shape pyramid, right? But I like the idea that you're multiplying that by your height and then minusing those points to where not only whoever has the best pyramid, but whoever has the prettiest pyramid technically will win the game. So interesting mechanics there. I like how that plays. I like the drafting mechanic, the idea of you get the pieces that are shown, but it's not necessarily you just grab and go. You have to grab based on the dice that are there. So you have to do the best you can with what you've been given, which brings me back to the question of the day at the beginning of the video. This is a much more impulsive placement game, a la number 9, even though number 9 is the most impulsive of all because you only get one piece of information at a time. This one, at least you have a set amount of dice in front of you that you can choose from and then build from there and hope to have the best highest point pyramid by the end of the game. The placement rules are kind of interesting. You know, it has to touch a corner and a side flat, can't hang over, can't go under, anything like that. There's the whole rule about once you've completed it, there's a couple different ways to show that you've completed, and it has to do with your highest vertical wall can't be, you know, too high by itself or something like that. Interesting little mechanics here. So I think Pyramid's Deadline will really serve a purpose. It's very fast. I mean, it's a very, very quick game. It's also tiny. Good airport game. Good tray table game. You can play this on your tray table, have everything sit in the box, which is actually nicely, it nicely fits in here really well. It's got a couple dividers and things like that. Not dividers, but in the sense they sit together really well in this tiny little box. So you could play this on an airplane tray table. You could play it in a cafe in the airport. So this is stuff Carl and I are always looking for. So Pyramid's Deadline, neat little quick pyramid building game with actually some really cool looking box art. I actually dig how they do that all the way around. It's smart. It's got some interesting rules as far as the placement. You know, you have to have those those lines going vertical or horizontal. They can't be diagonal. So it makes some restrictions on what you can do in an already tight, thinky game. So Pyramid's Deadline, Oink Games, go check this out. I'm Brian Drake here on the Dice Tower. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at TheLatestRetro, Instagram at TheLatestRetro, and until next time, I'll see you.
Thanks so much for watching another Dice Tower video. If you enjoy our videos, subscribe to the channel for more fun, comprehensive board game coverage. Also, consider joining us at one of our events. Come to Dice Tower Retreat, a small, intimate gathering where gaming is king. Join us for Dice Tower Cruise, the largest board game cruise. Attend Dice Tower West in Las Vegas, for gaming fun on the West Coast, or Dice Tower East in Orlando, in sunny Florida. Dice Tower Conventions, the friendliest gaming conventions on Earth. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.